Okay, so I just got out of the movie Bones and All, which stars Timothee Chalamet and Taylor Russell. Actually, I would probably say stars Taylor Russell with Timothee Chalamet, because she is the driving force behind this movie. And I went into it not really knowing a lot about it. I had texted a friend. I was going to see a different movie, and I texted to see if they knew anything about this. And she basically told me something about zombies, right? So I expected, and from the title, I expected there to be some sort of zombie aspect to it. It's not really. It's not zombies. Instead, it's this sort of subculture of these creatures or people called eaters. And, just as a warning, I'm a big horror movie fan. I've watched a lot this year. And this is the best one that I've seen this year, and perhaps the best horror movie that I've seen in a long time. I think it has the same sort of tense building up to violence as a movie like, God, even it's a Stu Company with a movie like Audition. There's a movie called The Woman, which God, maybe it was maybe 10 years ago now. Um, and there's another movie, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it's about this family that, again, they're these cannibals. That's what eaters are, more like cannibals. Um, and this movie starts out with Taylor Russell as kind of, it's innocent enough. She's a high school kid. And I would say within the first 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm sorry for spoilers, this turns completely violent. And I was not expecting it at all. Most of the time, I feel like I can predict exactly where these movies are going. This is not one of those. Even though it's not completely unexpected, there are definitely some key moments where you know what's coming. The main antagonist, I guess he is, of this movie, because it's never really clear. Our protagonists, Russell and Chalamet, are both bad people, I guess, even though there's this whole conflict with Taylor Russell. Like, she doesn't know, her name's Marin in the movie. Marin doesn't know, do I want to be this eater? What do I want to do? I want to discover who I am and maybe find a way to live with it that's not hurting people. And they all have these sort of dark pasts as they talk about the trauma and the horror that they've experienced. There's definitely some, turn your brain off a little bit, because the deaths and the violence that they talk about throughout the movie, how it would go undetected, I'm not sure, except that the movie is set in the 80s. So, of course, forensics and cell phones and cameras and security and all that would be much less. And I think that's a pretty standard shtick now with these movies. If they want to get away with, how would people not be caught or recorded or whatever all the time? Okay, let's set it in the 70s or the 80s, and then we're fine. I didn't feel like that was a problem with this. I thought it was actually very beneficial. It gave them a little more freedom. One of the things I really enjoyed about this movie, which is just a strange thing of mine, I don't know what it is, but I love movies that have authentic scenery and set pieces. So, where Marin and her father are living early in the film, that you see a couple different places they kind of live this life on the run. Um, there are all these dilapidated, sort of run down. You see cracks in the walls. You see floor tiles that are peeled up. You see that it's a place that's clean, but not necessarily maintained or taken care of. It's definitely, you can see that they're living this itinerant lifestyle, and you see that throughout. So one of the things that I would say that I'm not really was keen on is when we first hear about her, find out what she is, or start to discover what she is, what Marin is. She goes on this journey of discovery, this travel montage, which you know she's on her own, and then it becomes this series of other eaters that she keeps running into, and they develop this whole subculture of the idea of, okay, what does bones and all mean? What does drying out together mean? And how each of these different characters are reacting and living with it. And one of the characters is Sully, who is sort of I would say the antagonist, the bad guy, the villain. However, this movie is maybe all villains because, they're eating people, obviously, right? And they do some horrible things. But Sully, he's amazing. He does such a good job. It's tense. It is something, you know that he's coming. You know that, things are going to go bad. They never fully establish some of the rules of the Eater society and what exactly they can do. But there are some cool things that they do with it, and it all leads up to what is going to be this brutal, violent uh, end scene. And I think it definitely pulls it off. I was it was it was hard to watch a little bit. Like I mentioned the movie Audition earlier, it's the same sort of thing, that what's happening. You can't turn away from it. You don't really want to turn away from it. It's very well done, and the characters and the scenes and just the pace. The movie, it was great. It showed the horror where it needed to show the horror, but it wasn't necessarily just gratuitous and violent. This is definitely the best horror movie that I've seen all year, and best horror movie that I can remember seeing in a long time. Highly, highly recommend this. If you are squeamish at all, don't see it. This is a very violent and bloody, visceral movie. If you have seen it, I would love to know what you think. Um, I think next up for me is The Menu. This is what I was gonna see instead of this movie, and I'm really glad that I saw this instead. I love these movies that are maybe a little bit smaller. So, yeah, please let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Whatever we need to do. I appreciate everyone watching and listening to me rant about these movies. Thanks, guys.